I'm over here.
Go ahead.
Snazzy room.
Go ahead, Annette.
Exactly.
Are we set? Okay, good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for joining us on our LGC meeting. We'll start off the meeting with the first thing, the Pledge of Allegiance. I think we do have a public comment this morning.
Oh, are you ready? I just wanted to announce that I will be leaving Horizon City. My last day will be June 13th, and so this will be my last meeting with the LGC. But it's been a pleasure working with all of you, and I hope to see the efforts continue, and so I thank you all.
I'm sorry to see you leave, and I'm hoping that you're going to bigger and better things for yourself.
Thank you so much. Yes, I'll be starting with UMC on June 24th, so.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Congratulations.
And I understand that your possible replacement is here?
Yes, so Mr. Rubio, the chief planner for Horizon City, will be taking my place on the LGC board.
Mr. Rubio,
to represent
welcome.
Horizon.
Annette, do you want to go through these items, and or would you rather I do it?
Yes, we can, we are now at agenda item 4, which is the consent agenda. And there are 2 items for you to consider, which include the minutes from the April 17th, 2024 meeting, as well as the financial report for this month.
And thank you so much for the notebook. It is so organized looking. Thank you.
Mr. Chair, make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
We have a motion. Do I hear a second to approve?
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
As I understand, we're going to be moving up agenda item 6F, and I'll read that item now. This is to discuss and take appropriate action regarding the adoption of an FY 2025 staffing plan for the El Paso Area Transportation Services Local Government Corporation. And I believe Mr. Landeros will lead this discussion.
Yeah, good afternoon, Mr. Chair and other members of the board. As we had discussed previously, Chair, if you would mind Steve, I'm passing it down. While Alexis brings up this item, the conversation arose at our last meeting about the necessity of, and really I think the timing of moving a lot of the operations of the transit system under purview of the board. We saw that with some issues that came up that were administrative and procedural in nature. But I think that a lot of the operational challenges that the LGC will continue to navigate as we grow and expand our efforts are going to be significant. And so this really is in line with the conversation that we had. Ms. Valeria Fernandez with the county's Human Resources Department is here just to speak a little bit to what the process is. But before that, I just wanted to, the handout that I shared, and I think Alexis is still working on bringing it up.
I haven't gotten it yet.
Oh, no? Okay. It focuses on, I apologize, I'm trying to make sure it went through in my inbox, but what you all have in front of you shows the creation of a new position, the Director of Transit Operations, which would be a direct report back to the board. And so the Director of Transit Operations would be charged with implementing the vision and the policy objectives and, ultimately the strategic vision of this board and all the agencies. The reason why the county's Human Resources Department is here is because the proposal that we'd like to put forth for the board's consideration today would follow a model that has been deployed internally in the county with other boards and agencies. So for example, the county's Juvenile Probation Department, it is overseen and managed by a separate board that includes one of the elected district judges. All of the employees report to that board. So while they may be county employees, they don't directly report to the structure that is the Commissioner's Court and the Chief Administrator. And so there's other examples of our purchasing department being in a similar structure, adults supervision or adult probation. All of these are are smaller agencies that are under the county umbrella that have their own reporting structure. And so the proposal here would be to create this director position that would be the board's sole employee. That would allow us to retain an individual, an administrator, to work on matters that as the board identifies. And then here on the, and Alexis, I just sent it. I hope it went through. Yeah, okay, perfect.
It's on the screen.
Great. So that's the position in red. The position in purple is an existing position that is currently on the county staffing table that would ultimately be reclassified as a project manager to help the department, to help the LGC with a number of initiatives as we move forward. And then the positions in green at the bottom, the transportation planner and transit planner, are two positions that are currently on the county's staffing table. They're currently housed in the Planning and Development Department under Mr. Michael McElroy, who's here today. Those positions would ultimately be moved under the umbrella of the LGC. That's always been the ultimate vision and effort here is to have a board and a department that really focuses on implementing public transit in a regional manner that doesn't necessarily report to any one agency, but rather this regional partnership that is the LGC. The timeline for a lot of this would be ultimately in place by the beginning of the fiscal year. So fiscal year 2025, the county's fiscal year, the LGC's fiscal year, October 1. And so Ms. Fernandez can talk to us a little bit about what the process is, what some of the discussions that we've had have been about the need to move the staff over to minimize any disruption to benefits that they may have already accrued, and other items. So with that, I'll turn it over to Ms. Fernandez.
Hi, good afternoon. Valeria Fernandez with the county's Human Resources Department. I am the HR manager over our talent management or recruitment section. And so today, with accordance with what Jose is saying, for the position to be created, for the director position to be created, an item would need to be placed on the Commissioners Court agenda, identifying the funding and the start date for this approval. And then thereafter, as we come up into the budget for FY25, is also request to shift those positions over into this new, what we would call, it would be a new department essentially. So that way it could be standalone. They would, employees that would be transferred would remain on our staffing tables. There would be no change in benefits. The director position, if it is funded and approved by the court, it would have all of the benefits afforded to it as any other county employee. For the recruitment plan, we do follow a recruitment plan for executive recruitments or director level positions. We're estimating at least 15 weeks for that recruitment plan, which that includes a 5-week posting period, the application screening, testing, blind grading of that written test, interviews, which would include a first panel interview as well as final panel interview. That part is essentially up to you all how you would like to structure it. We'd be more than happy to help coordinate that. A background check, and then to provide that candidate with at least 2 weeks' notice or more if needed for them to provide. So in talking with Jose previously, we're looking at where this position would start. It would be about three months or so at least until this position could come on board. I don't know if I
Yeah, that's
addressed
perfect.
everything.
No,
Okay.
thank you. And we had this conversation to just understand what the process would be. The funding is through the funds that are currently funding the operations and the administrative costs of the service. TxDOT's Public Transportation Division, PTN, has confirmed that there is capacity to fund this. And so our next steps would be to, one, have the board consider taking action to adopt the plan as presented or with any modifications the board would like to see. And then two, as Valeria mentioned, we'll place this item on the Commissioners Court agenda for June 3rd. And the court's action would be to actually establish the grant-funded position mid-fiscal year, right? And if that position is created and the plan is overall concurred with by Commissioners Court, then we can proceed this route. The other important thing to note here, in the event the Commissioners Court is not in agreement, there may be other options that the LGC could pursue that we'd previously discussed by perhaps partnering and looking at housing these positions within the Council of Governments. But that would cause disruption if our ultimate goal is to transition the existing staff that's working on transit for the LGC and for the county initially over. It might create some challenges for them. And some of them are here listening into this conversation, right? So it makes it a little awkward in some regard. But nonetheless, our goal is to try and transition all the positions, create the positions successfully in a streamlined fashion. And the start date of the fiscal year is a good time to make these revisions. And it's realistic in terms of recruitment. It's not like some of the timelines that I sometimes send to Valeria. This person is starting in 3 weeks. It's just not going to happen. This is realistic. And this will give us a chance to advertise with the American Planning Association, the Texas chapter, and other relevant professional organizations so that we have a good slew of candidates that have interest and opportunity to apply.
If I may add, Jose, the job description is under review with our Comp and Class Division, so that should be finalized and established before the June 3rd meeting. And one thing we would recommend as well is, as a large board, we would recommend either a smaller hiring committee or a coordinator that we could then coordinate with on your behalf for this recruitment, if you so wish.
Well, thank you, Valeria. Great presentation. And board, one of the things that we've been talking about is we really need a director, and between now and, I think we're targeting the first part of next year to actually have somebody here on board, is something that, up to this point, we've put a lot of weight on Jose. Now it's getting to the point where Jose is sitting on the board, yet he's working on the operational side. So we really have to move quickly, and that that the start date is January that we're looking at. But we also need to talk about, and I think we're going to be discussing this a little bit more in executive, what do we do in the interim between now and the hiring date? So a lot of things to discuss, but I'd like to open it up to the board to see what your ideas are.
I think from my perspective, I think it was the necessary thing to do. We want to make sure that there is the continuous of the spirit of what the LGC was formed. And just speaking from experience, I mean, it's a multi-task agency, and there's a lot of moving parts to this. There's a lot of partners and stakeholders. So I think this is something that was necessary. And I think that from the city of San Antonio, anything that we need to do on our end, whether it's to volunteer more of my time, I will make that effort.
Oh, thank you.
I agree. I think this is a good move for the organization, and if the funding is available to cover for it, it's.
And I think, Valeria, correct me if I'm wrong, as we move forward, and I think in our June meeting, we'll know more insofar as what the possible range and pay will be and that kind of stuff.
Yes, it's expected to be a director-level position on our executive pay scale, and it'll be rated also internally against similar positions that we have within the county. So the pay will be comparable and with market value.
So I think the motion would be at this time is, Mr. Sergio, I defer to you just to help me out on a simple type of a motion.
I think it would be to adopt the FY 2025 staffing plan for the EPATS LGC as presented.
Yes, that's correct. A motion to approve the adoption of a fiscal year 2025 staffing plan for the El Paso Area Transportation Services LGC as presented.
Okay.
That's the motion.
Do I hear a motion?
Make a motion?
I will second that.
We have a motion, a second. Any discussion? I hear none. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a great day.
Appreciate it. And thank you. I need to really thank the county for stepping up and helping the LGC in this most critical portion of our development.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Okay, this will take us back to Agenda Item 5, and I'll read this item into the record. This is a public hearing on the ADA Paratransit Service Plan in compliance with 49 CFR 37, Subpart F, 37.137. And the time now is 1:46. And if I may, Commissioner Leon, what we would like to do first is provide you with an update in terms of the public hearings that were held in April to gather feedback on the planned paratransit services in El Paso County. And that update will be provided by Tina with TTI and Alexis. There you go. Thank you so much. And Tina, are you with us on the line?
I am.
Okay, thank you so much. And I purposely did not say your last name, so would you like to tell everyone your last name, Tina?
Sure. Thank you, Annette. My name is Tina Geiselbrecht. I'm with the Texas A&M Transportation Institute. I'm a senior research scientist there, and I'm very happy to be with y'all here this afternoon, and anxious to present some of the updates from our public outreach activities. I know that many of you participated in those meetings, and we do really thank you for your interest and attendance at those meetings. So with that, we'll get started. So next slide, please. So public outreach, the federal regulations require that any public entity that is offering fixed route transit service is also required to develop a complementary paratransit plan. And a key element of that paratransit plan is to ensure that there is public participation in the development of the plan, and it includes some specific requirements of public outreach for the participation in the development of the plan by the widest range of persons anticipated to use the service, and also in consultation with individuals with disabilities and groups representing them. So I think that we have fulfilled our commitment on that part, and that's what my presentation is going to focus on today, just kind of how we did that. So next, please. So we have an outstanding Access Advisory Committee that is part of this effort to instill paratransit service within the county. And we worked with them to determine how best to engage the disability communities and the groups that represent them. We specifically were asking for input on 7 areas of interest that are part of the paratransit plan, and I'll go into those in a little bit more detail in just a minute. The feedback that we received at the public meetings and any additional feedback that we receive from the public hearing today and the ongoing opportunities to leave feedback on the website will all be used to inform the plan. Within the plan itself, we have to document all the comments that were received and how we are proposing to dispose or address those comments. Next. So we worked with county staff and RioCog staff, Barracuda staff, and with guidance and input from the advisory committee to devise an outreach plan that provided multiple opportunities to attend a public meeting, including a virtual option. That was a very important component from that we heard from our advisory committee. We did extensive advertising for the meetings, including press releases. I know Mr. Landeros was a video star, and we tried to get that out there. But we did earned media, social media. We distributed this flyer that you see on the screen now that kind of list out all of the opportunities for the public meetings. We distributed that through all of our contacts, and through the advisory committee, they use their extensive distribution lists as well. So I feel like we did a great job just trying to get the word out about the availability of the in-person meetings. And then at the meetings themselves, we tried to make them as accommodating as possible. There were opportunities to participate in Spanish if that was your preferred language. And then we also had a person that signed throughout the meetings as well. Next. So we began each of the meetings with kind of an explanation of, how the meeting would go. We anticipated that the meetings would last about 2 hours, and my colleague Susie Edrington from TTI started each of the meetings with a short presentation of kind of why are we here and what do we want from you. We learned from our advisory committee that we needed to explain a little bit more about what EPATS is and what paratransit is and how that all works. But we also took a little time to talk about the balance of sustainability and performance. I think we would all agree that if possible, we'd like everything that we could possibly ask for, but we have to balance that with the sustainability of the service. So we asked the participants to keep this in mind as we went through the discussion of those 7 topical areas. Next. So what you're seeing on the slide now is just an example of the cover of a workbook, and the workbook was the primary mechanism that we used to gather feedback. So after the participants heard the first introductory presentation from Susie, we divided them into small groups to go through the workbook. And on the next slide, you see again those topical areas that we ask for people's input on. Specifically, they are the service area, service days and hours, the fare policy, on-time performance standards, telephone performance, the eligibility to qualify for ADA paratransit service, and then coordination. Some of those topics are required as part of the plan, and so that's where we really wanted to get that feedback on those. And next. So what you see on the screen now is an example of a page from the workbook where we ask about, in this case, service hours and delays. So in each of the groups, we had a facilitator that would read through the information that described the topic and then outlined the requirements of the Americans with Disabilities Act, what the proposed policies and practices being proposed by EPATS were, and then some information about what peer agencies across the state, and in some cases outside of the state, are also doing. Then we had some discussion. We just had a group discussion about that, and we had note takers at the public meetings that captured that discussion as well. And then we asked individuals to answer between 1 and 3 questions on each of the topical areas, and then offer any additional comments. So we collected all of that information and tabulated it and everything, and that's what we'll use to document our outreach efforts within the paratransit plan. Next. Oops. There we go. So I just wanted to give you kind of a little update of where we are right now. As I mentioned earlier, I know that many of the EPATS board members and members of the advisory committee attended the public meetings, and for that we are grateful. We had good participation at the virtual meeting as well. What you see on the slide shows you the participation at each of the public meetings. Should also point out that on April 29th at El Paso Community College, Mission Del Paso campus, we actually had 3 meetings on that day. We had one in the morning, one in the afternoon, and one in the evening. We also recorded the intro presentation that Susie made and posted it on the EPATS website, along with a link to the workbook and a form where they could answer the questions that were in the workbook online as well. So people still have the opportunity to do that. That's kind of ongoing through the website. I think we're going to leave that open for about another week and a half to gather input that way. And next, our next steps are to, we're kind of pushing step 1 or step 2 now. This is the opportunity for the public hearing. We're going to document all the input that was received, and it will become part of the plan. And if necessary and appropriate, the plan will be adjusted, and then it will be submitted back to this board for approval, and then on to TxDOT for acceptance. And with that, I thank you for your time this afternoon, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you have.
Thank you, Tina. I was fortunate enough to attend the meeting over at Montana High School, or what's the name of that school there?
Mountain View.
Mountain View High School, and I think we had about 9 participants. The nice thing about that is people from Volar were also there, and that represents a huge group of people that are going to be needing those types of services. So I was happy with the turnout. I wish, like always, that they'd be much more populated than what we had, but that's usually the way it goes. But someone really pointed something out to me one time and said, if people were angry with you, they'd be there. So maybe I should be thankful for that. So, Board, any comments?
Question, Mr. Chair.
Yes.
So just to clarify, the paratransit service cannot be launched until the plan is approved, correct? And if so, when, the last point on that timeline, when are we expected as a board to consider approving the plan?
If I may, Chair, the timeline is that the plan will be presented to the LGC at the June meeting, where it could be approved at that time, and that should get us in line with the rollout of the ADA paratransit services for July.
So the plan does have to be adopted first?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Annette.
And Commissioner, at this time, if there are no other comments from the board members, this is an opportunity for the public to provide comment to all of you. And so I just wanted to make you aware of that. I believe that we do have some that would like to comment soon.
Sure. Do we have them online or here in person?
We do have, I know that we have some members from the Access Advisory Committee, Mr. Trujillo, as well as Ms. Lugo. So whichever one of you would like to go first, that's fine.
Yes, welcome. Hello, Yvette.
For those that don't know me, my name is Yvette Lugo. I'm the director for the Rio Grande Area Agency on Aging. We're a division of the Rio Grande Council of Governments. I serve on the EPATS Advisory Committee, obviously representing the interests of older adults, family caregivers, and of course, in genuine, those persons who would in fact be riders of this possible service. Since we do serve a 6-county region, we recognize the needs for transportation, particularly here in El Paso County, where we see that there is currently a disjointed system, and oftentimes older adults do come to us for that assistance for their transportation needs, since we are able to, with the funds that we have, purchase those services from local vendors. Although there's never enough money, so looking at this would be a dream to be able to expand the transportation options, especially reaching those parts of our county that don't have those as accessible to them. So this was something with the opportunity to be able to serve in this capacity, to see this plan come to fruition would be a wonderful expansion of the supports to older adults and helping them to remain in their communities, access needed services and supports, and again, continue to show that we are here to support those needs of older adults, family caregivers, persons with disabilities who truly can and will use this service if it is better expanded and better accessible to them. And so I'm hoping that the adoption of the plan does happen, participating in these planning sessions and hearing what the needs are, being able to see that, and then bring again the perspective of what we're seeing from the clients that seek our assistance. This is a very much needed type of assistance. So I would appreciate your support on that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Ryan Trujillo. I'm a special education transition facilitator. So I work with families in Clint ISD. That starts with Desert Meadows all the way through Horizon, and then all the way down to Clint area. So we have a big region. I just want to say thank you for your time. Thank you for advocating for your communities. A lot of times our rural communities, they don't get the lion's share of some services. So you guys, thank you so much for your time and your effort in this. With regards to that, as you know, probably a lot of our community members, they kind of have been sitting on the sidelines. And I said, well, there's no lift out here, right? So that's just how life is. That's how we're going to go. You guys have a tremendous ability to change that within the next couple of weeks, and hopefully we can start rolling in July. I will say with Clint ISD currently we have about 3,500 families with disabilities. Of those, there's 200 with either visual impairments or severe mobility issues. We've had one member on our committee grew up, graduated Mountain View High School, and had to move out of his community, had to leave his family because he can't get to the city to work and to get healthcare services. So we want to keep our citizens within your cities, within your areas, and let them have that quality of life to be able to go into town, get their healthcare services, get their jobs. I'm advocating for those families, obviously, that aren't here. Commissioner Leon obviously said it's tough to get these families out. Well, we know why, right? So With regards to the plan, the two observations that I have, a lot of the families I work with, they do come from lower socioeconomical situations. Pricing, that's one issue that is part of their lives. They're going to be going to work probably to not work 40 hours a week, probably mainly to receive services from agencies for long care type needs. So that is one that was kind of resonating. The other is, as much as we can keep up with the times and incorporate some of the things that private companies have done with Where's My Ride, incorporating apps and websites that they can, I think that would help with efficiency of scheduling rides, and letting them know, your driver got in a wreck, so that's expected. So incorporating new technology and just understanding that the price and cost. On a side note, I will say that I was a part of the EPATS committee also, and it's just been a joy. You have amazing county workers, TTI. They have a heart to serve, and they want to serve. So it's just been great. And thank you guys for coming out to East Montana. We had it at Mountain View, but we had a situation the day before, and you guys came out, and that shows a lot. Thank you guys for your time. I appreciate it.
Well, Ryan, thank you, but before you sit down, I'd be very interested to know what the reason that one resident moved out. Did he live within 3/4 of a mile of a route, or what is it that forced him to move
So
that we can improve?
that East Montana area in particular has a lot of dogs that are loose. I don't know if that can be addressed, but he's in a wheelchair. To get to a public route, he didn't feel safe, and there was no lift. So he had to make some life adjustments and say, I got to move into the boundaries so I can get where I need to go.
And how far was he from the route?
He lived, I think it was a few blocks, but there's a lot of dogs out. And he didn't feel safe, and,
See, that's one of the areas that I think we're going to be able to fix on the paratransit, where they live a certain amount distance away or close to a route where they can actually go to his home. And correct me if I'm wrong, Jose, and pick him up.
Yes.
And take him to where he needs to be.
Yeah, maybe he can, and all his family still lives in the area, so, yeah, thanks for asking that question. Thank you, guys.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. We also have Ellen Smythe with the City of El Paso.
Hi, Ellen Smythe, City of El Paso. This is, I guess, for Tina. While you were speaking, you mentioned that your outreach had been posted on the website at EPATS. So I clicked on it, and there's only one link. It's the El Paso Transportation Authority.org access, but it's a broken link. It says it doesn't connect.
Do you have anybody from your team? Sir?
Thank you, Ellen. We definitely will take that back with Barracuda as well to see where it is that we had the mishap with that.
Okay, thanks.
And Ellen, as you know, we can't really engage with you, but we'll have an answer for you.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
I forgot one more point. As much as possible to kind of streamline or make consistent the qualification process of El Paso County and Sun Metro. Again, you're dealing with families with special needs. Simplifying it, but doing due diligence to make sure they do qualify, that no one's gaming the system. But if they're dealing with two different qualifications, that's part of the plan. And I think, those that kind of voted, I know that was one thing. Just making sure that there's some consistency between the county and the city.
Thank you.
Commissioner Leon, I do not have anyone else signed up for public comment, but we still have some individuals here in the area if anybody would like to address the board at this time. Okay.
Close.
Then what we can do now at 2:07, we can close the public hearing and return to our regular agenda. So with that being said, this will now take us to 6A, And I believe Alexis will be able to pull this up soon, but I'll go ahead and read this agenda item. And Commissioner, I'll be sure to take the motions for you. I apologize, I didn't do that earlier. Agenda item 6A is to discuss and take appropriate action to direct legal counsel to prepare an interlocal agreement with Sun Metro regarding activities and cooperation related to ADA paratransit services. And so on this item here, we had, I'm sorry, Alexis, it'll be the PowerPoint that was sent. Thank you. So on this item, we do want to initiate an interlocal agreement with Sun Metro, so that way both parties are aware of the responsibilities that they have outlined in terms of riders once the ADA paratransit services is operational. And so we're asking for you to allow our legal counsel to create that interlocal agreement and go forward with it to present to Sun Metro. I don't know if we are going to make the timeline for the June 4th meeting, but ideally we would, the idea was to have the interlocal ready to present to the Mass Transit Board on the 4th. And so that's where we are right now. Are there any questions for me or Mr. Estrada?
No
Mr.
questions.
Chair, if I may ask,
yes.
so is the Mass Transit Department aware? I just want to make sure, so this is not the first time they're going to hear from the LGC?
Yeah, so we've briefed the board on this topic. I believe it was in the April meeting, and it was tied together with the Route 84 notice of termination. So yes, the Mass Transit Board has been briefed. So once the interlocal is prepared and adopted by the board, we'll take it to the Mass Transit Board for approval.
Perfect, thank you.
And may I just tell you what the deadline is for the July meeting?
Sure,
If you're
go
not, because you're right, you've already missed pretty much the deadline for, but the deadline for July 2nd, it has to be completely signed and ready to go to the clerk by the 17th of June. Thank you.
Yeah, and Mr. Chair, so once we have a draft prepared by the board's counsel, I think at that point it'd be appropriate to loop in our city attorney's office, because there's usually going to be some back and forth before the board adopts it. So I agree. I mean, it's unlikely this interlocal is probably going to be finalized to both parties' satisfaction, regardless on the execution when it's voted on, at least internally. And then, but I think what's imperative is that we get that adopted prior to the launch of whenever the paratransit is going to be launched. So you still have a little bit of control on that date. So I think if the board directs council to do that today, it's back to council as to how quickly you think you could probably have a draft ready to share with the city attorney's office. So we'd probably have to take our cue from that and then just work as quickly as possible along the way.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Estrada.
Yes, Chair and Board. I actually think we can have the interlocal agreement prepared on our end within the next day or two. A draft is already, I'd say, 50% completed. What I would remind the board of is this issue was presented to you to some extent at the last commissioners' meeting. However, if you recall as well, at that same meeting in executive, we discussed issues that had arisen that had changed kind of the way we were going to proceed. And it wasn't until just very recently that we arrived at a more firm and, up-to-date plan of action that made this interlocal an option again. So that's, part of the reason why we stopped working on it full force. But all that said, our draft will be completed within the next day or two, and we'll forward it over to the city.
Oh, Mr. Chair, if I may, I wouldn't, I think we've outlined a lot of the shared goals and the shared objectives, and I think heading into July, that's the date that we've shared with the public through our meetings, that we're going to go live with paratransit. And so I think administratively, if this is still substantially complete but just hasn't gotten quite across the finish line, that I think I think it's in everyone's interest to make sure it gets across the finish line. But I also think the LGC is under the gun here to to start that service because we've gone out to the public in these public hearings. So anything that we can do, Carl, to make sure that we answer the city's questions and everything else, I think is paramount so that we can hit that July timeline. And so I wonder if then the motion is to approve and authorize the chair to sign the final, the interlocal agreement with Sun Metro for these ADA paratransit services cooperation, subject to final legal review and approval. That way, as soon as it's done, we're good and we don't have to worry about coming back.
To a meeting.
To a meeting, I agree.
Yes, I totally agree. That should be the motion.
Okay, will that take a motion?
Yes.
I'd make that motion, yeah.
I second that.
A motion and a second have been made, and Annette, I'm sorry, I'll let you.
You're good. I'm fine. Just to make sure I have this right, Mr. Medina, did you second the motion?
Yes.
Okay. So we have a motion and a second to approve the motion made by Mr. Landeros. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Motion carries. All right. So then we'll go on to agenda item 6B. And this is an update on the interim ADA paratransit service contract with Transdev. And Jesus Serna will be presenting this item on behalf of El Paso County staff.
Good afternoon. Jesus Serna, Transit Planner. This item has been with it's with legal with an opinion. The amendment did go through, so we're just waiting on their response for the opinion on the legal.
Okay, so.
Well, our legal, sorry.
So we'll postpone it?
No, it's just an update.
Just an update.
Chair.
And Commissioner and LGC board members, just an update from our meeting that occurred in June, that happened in April. What is now occurred is that El Paso County will have an amendment to their current contract with Transdev that will allow for the ADA paratransit services to occur starting July 1st. And so this is a huge hurrah because there is some concern that perhaps it may not come to fruition, but I know there's a lot of work with county staff in ensuring that this was able to go forward. And so this is an update to the board to let you all know that what's happening with Transdev and how we're moving forward.
Thank you. Thank you, Jesus.
Okay. And there's no action on this item. If we can move to item C. And this is an update on the long-term fixed route demand response and ADA paratransit services contract. And I believe that Mr. Landeros would like to take the lead on this item.
Yeah, thank you, Annette. So for the board, we are working with the Camino Real Regional Mobility Authority to help proceed with the big RFP, which includes these services. The RFP will be structured in such a manner to allow us to award various sections of the RFP to different vendors, if that is the case, or if one vendor offers all services, we can make that award. So ultimate flexibility in that end. The benefit of the RMA I think at this point is just some of the capacity that the RMA has to help move this along. The county's existing agreement terminates in December. And so we do want to make sure that we have a decision made on which vendor or vendors we'll be proceeding with. And in the event that we need to give a vendor the opportunity to mobilize and ramp up and begin their operation, we want to give them as much time as possible. We have introduced the idea to the RMA, and this is a similar conversation that we're still pending with the city of El Paso, with Sun Metro, is in the event of offering this type of administrative service. Obviously, the RMA would be entitled to administrative fees and indirect costs and overhead. But we have proposed to the RMA in the event that they forego that could be determined to be a financial contribution, and then that might be something that could qualify them to be a voting member of the LGC board, right? And so I think we're pending a conversation with the city on that. We haven't reached out to the city on that, but I just, for your awareness, Carl, I think that's a conversation that we want to try and have with you all. Again, trying to ensure that the LGC really becomes a centralized place for discussions on regional transit and partnerships and collaboration. But all that said, we'll continue to work on that. This will move through the county, and then we're structuring in such a way that eventually the contract could be assigned to the LGC and transferred over to the LGC, with the ultimate goal of, by FY26, positioning the LGC to be the direct recipient of the public transportation dollars that come through TxDOT. So that the county would no longer be the recipient, that would transition to the LGC. And it's just that kind of continuation of the vision of the LGC being the regional transit landing point for a lot of services.
Board, any
I just have a question, Mr. Laneros. With regard to the RMA with the RFP, will we follow their procurement?
Yes.
Okay.
And so there's some other value. I know we've been discussing procurement of perhaps, the question is, should we decentralize procurement now and then ultimately centralize it into the LGC? Is there perhaps a way to the LGC's involvement with the LGC being similar to the COG, where the COG serves as our fiscal and administrative agent? Perhaps the RMA could serve as the LGC's procurement agent, so that we don't duplicate services, which there's a lot of duplication of services, especially at the local level, but still allow us to make sure that we're in accordance with all federal rules, procedures, and guidelines for a lot of these federal dollars.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, there's no action? Is that?
Okay, then we will go ahead and move on to item 6D, and this is an action item. Discuss and take appropriate action on creating policies and procedures regarding fare and service changes. I will present this item, and Michael Walk from TTI is available to answer any questions you may have as well. We have received, at this moment at least, 2 requests to alter the routes in some way, and county staff has determined that we do not have a fare or policy in place in terms of how that is determined and what information needs to be collected to bring back to the board. And so at this point, at this moment, we would like for you all to consider allowing TTI to put together a task order for you all to inform you of what the endeavor would be in terms of putting this together and what the cost would be. And so, Michael, is there anything else you would like to add to that?
Thank you, Annette. That was a good introduction. And yeah, and it comes down to, what are the decision-making points and standards? This is specifically referring to fixed route, right? Because we've all been talking about ADA paratransit. But yeah, as we're specifically thinking back to the fixed route system, as requests for changes come in from the community, things like that, how do they get handled? What analysis needs to be done, and what decision-making needs to be done? And that's the, it's important from past experience anyway for there to be a set of standards regarding the fixed route service itself and the service change process. And yeah, that's the point of bringing this up to the board and to seek the board's opinion on whether a service standards document and service change process is desired by the board. And of course, if so, what would be the next steps on that?
I'm curious, is this an overall assessment of all the routes that we have?
I think Michael will answer that in terms of how that's determined.
So the, if you're talking about specific service change requests, that we're referring to, like a community says, hey, could you guys please take this route and make it go these 3 blocks up here and come back, right? Because I have a person or a center or something. And so as those requests come in, and we do receive, El Paso County has received those requests in the past and continue to receive them in the future. So this is, part of this is just looking at those specific requests.
Okay.
Okay, as they come in, based on overall route level standards, what do we want our routes to be doing?
I think my only concern, is a lot of the conversation we've had has been about trying to be deliberate on increasing the organization's decision-making. And so I'm wondering if the nature of the requests are similar to, Commissioner, the example we've used often in Precinct 1, there was a whole community that was just being passed by the bus where it wasn't going into the community. And so if the route deviations, I think, are minor enough that it won't significantly delay the route if it's maybe going to an existing neighborhood center like a community center, I think staff should present those and kind of, we can evaluate that. I think a lot of the capacity building that you were talking about, Michael, needs to happen, but I would defer that until, depending on the outcome of this discussion with staff and everything else, so that we have those policies and procedures put in place, but that it's something that is not being set by the board. I think if we're going to be looking at having a more active and empowered staff, that we wait to get those positions on board before we proceed with anything else.
Board, any input?
Yeah, I agree with Mr. Loneto's observation. I think that having, some technical component to it rather than just going there from a policy perspective first would probably benefit us best.
So, Jesus, Daniel, if you all have requests that have been made, let me just add them to the agenda and let us kind of, if you all can kind of present any, not today, at the next meeting, right? Like, these are generally the requests that we have pending, and this is the area, this is a route that it would affect. And then maybe in the interim, Carl, I don't know if Sun Metro would be, Mr. DeKaiser, you and your staff, just kind of share a little bit about your input on how you make route modification decisions and process, just so that we can have some of that. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, if you'd like, sir. Yeah, that'd be great.
We already meet with your planners once a month, so we can.
Do they bring coffee and pastries? Because
Actually, they were having some other get together. We was going to raid the stash there, but we already meet with them once a month.
Okay.
And we'd be happy to share the processes that we go through with the Mass Transit Board when we go ahead and request changes to route modifications. We generally take those to the Mass Transit Board if they're significant, and then the board approves that. But we can share the process that we go through that with for the major changes and the minor changes. So if you so choose to adopt that or take that and move from a known point, so to speak, we're more than welcome to share that. We can share the details of that offline, and then they can modify it as they want and present that back to the body.
No, that's perfect. Yeah, no, thank you, sir. Yeah, because I think what we don't want is a lot of these requests come in through the elected officials' offices, and then our commissioner's court and our judge are pending, and I don't want to hold those decisions up when it could be a minor type of service modification that we could have probably pulled the trigger on sooner. So that would be helpful. Maybe we can just work on having a listing of those and maybe some of the criteria at our next meeting, so we can maybe move some of these and then put something in place on an interim basis, and then work, Michael, with TTI. I think we're probably going to work on trying to identify what other areas we need to bolster our capacity, and this is going to be one of them. But maybe we just do it in one fell swoop as opposed to piecemeal.
I think the thing that I would caution the body on is, let the planners do all the work and do all the homework and make sure it's operationally viable, and then present that to the body, and let that be the foundation of the way things work.
Yes, sir.
If I might just ask you, sir, is that when you look at this using a software platform like Trapeze or something to that degree for making that operational judgment?
Yeah, so, there's a few things that go into it. Generally those things come from ridership demand and then requests from the public. And then you also have to look at how each route intertwines with the other routes and the timing going back to the transfer center. So there's quite a few things that get put into that, and that's why my recommendation came. Let the planners take all that into consideration, come up with the best viable plan, and then present that to the body, and then they can explain that. They can explain it in two ways, here in this form, or first meet with you prior to here, explain it in detail, and then bring it to the public and explain it again, and then let the body vote like that. Claudia, is there anything that you wanted to add to that? This is Claudia Garcia, my Assistant Director of Planning and Development.
Good afternoon, Claudia Garcia. Mike, just to answer your question, we do use the software. Once we have all the data and everything, we use the software to help us identify what would be the best schedule to allow us for the majority number of transfers. That's when we use the software. Everything else, we try to do it based on, like what Mr. De Kaiser said, information we get also from our own drivers, from our people, customer service, and any other request that comes through the city hall that it gets to us. Then we do the analysis. We tend to call also the customers to get more details, because sometimes with a call you don't get all the details. So sometimes we're able to help them without even changing the routes or the schedules. So we do have customer service, the planners call directly to the caller, so we can get all the details and everything. Once we do the analysis from the field to all the information that we have, then we utilize the software to help us complete that process, to allow us for the number. Because sometimes moving the schedules a couple of minutes will allow, it will change from a 70% transfers to a 85% transfers. So because not all the routes go the same lane at the same time, so you cannot have 100% on the transfers, but using the tools that the software provides you helps you get them, maximize those opportunities.
Thank you so much.
Okay, so I guess, Claudia, an example, somebody came into my office and asked at the El Paso Community College on the east side, Mission Valley, is that what it is?
Mission Paseo. Yes.
Misión del Paso.
Misión del Paso, yeah. The students are dropped off at the gateway, then they have a long walk to the actual campus. So I guess by the bus going down the street and dropping them off at the gate or whatever, I guess that time that it takes to get down there and back will impact possibly another route.
The entire system, it might impact the way the transfers that route might have with other routes.
Yeah, okay,
So
thank you.
any change will affect.
Yeah, I hadn't thought of that. I
everything.
thought, well, it's a simple thing. Okay, thank you.
So, Mr. Chair, also to circle back, and this is something we can definitely share with you, the policy back to the agenda item is very important, because that's where you set your thresholds on minor and major service modifications, which the board adopts.
Right.
And so until you have that, it's difficult to do the equity analysis, which has the impact on, can you easily do it, or are you going to have to go through a more extensive process? So I think what TTI was presenting here and what we can share with you is a sample of our policy, if you want to replicate it. And that allows you to determine if it's a minor or major modification.
Okay, good point. Thank you.
So then there'll be no action on this item? Okay, so then we can go ahead and move on to item E. And item E is to discuss options and next steps for preparing the FY 2025 service plan, financial plan, and contribution amounts. And just to update you all, in a previous conversation I had with Commissioner Leon, these are rough numbers, but what the Council of Governments has collected between fiscal year 23 and 24 is $511,439. And we have expended year-to-date with this item that was asked for your approval under consent, $128,334. So at this moment, we have a balance of $383,104, but we will still be paying for costs associated with Barracuda, with Kemp Smith, and for Rio Grande Council Governments. But with all that being said, this is the time for you all to start thinking about your 2025 service plan and financial plan. And hearing what Mr. Landeros had to say about the staffing plan, perhaps you all may want to take a pause, but maybe perhaps you would like to engage with TTI for that assistance. And so that's why we put this agenda item on now, because if you recall, those long worksheets that Michael so eloquently presents, does take some time and effort to put them together, in addition to now ensuring that we have the additional membership of both Clint as well as Anthony.
And Board, I just wanted Annette to give us a rough amount. This is what we have in the bank, this is what we've been spending, just so you're aware of, hey, we have no idea where we're at. So thank you, Annette, for coming up with those numbers. It's a starting point that we have in the back of our minds.
I would agree that the TTI's calculations are critical, because those are the numbers that we have to take back to all the governing bodies. So I would want to give staff direction to proceed with developing a task order and having that on for for June, and Michael, I see that you're on. What's the timeline to get us some of those estimates? What if we were able to execute a task order at our next meeting in June?
I would probably say best case scenario is you're talking to have at least an initial estimate by very early August or late July, at least a month from the June board meeting to when you have an estimate in hand. And then it might take another couple of weeks to finalize. Thankfully, we have a lot of the framework already developed.
Thank you, Michael. The reason why I ask is that I know that all of our agencies will be heading into budget in the summer, and does that timeline fit with what every municipality is planning and thinking? Like if we had an estimate number by July, is that enough time to incorporate it into the? Because I know that the Commissioners Court has their decision-making budget hearings in early August. So, yeah.
July is like the latest to try to get, I mean, the rough estimate, I think it can be fine-tuned before September, but that works. End of July, yeah.
And based on the numbers that we just heard from Annette, there'll likely be, I believe, some rollover. And so that for those funds either roll back to the municipality or, I forgot how the agreements are worded, but either.
Well,
they roll over, right, to the next year. So if San Elisario's, and Annette, stop me if this sounds wrong at any point, right? But if Sanelli can contribute to 80,000, and then TTI estimates the next year it's 85,000, but there was a credit of 35 that rolled over, the new value would only be the difference of.
Well, that will be a policy that you all will establish in terms of how you want to deal with your funds.
I like that idea.
Yeah.
And I think that the other item, just to also make mention, is that we still need to reconcile the percentage contributions for all the membership for this fiscal year. And at the last meeting, we did inform you that we had a meeting with the auditor's office. We have not met since then, so obviously that still needs to occur. And I'm looking at you, Michelle, because yes, you reminded me at the last meeting. But we know that this is important. We know it needs to get done. And I think that we definitely will have a clear picture to show how we can reconcile that. And perhaps at that time, you all may want to consider your policy in terms of whether you roll over the funds or you credit the funds. But that will give you a clear picture at that time.
We'll mail you a copy of the budget. If and when we adopt it for fiscal year 24. Yeah. But Mr. Chair, I was going to make two more suggestions, if I might. I think it's probably pertinent that we present updates to all of our agencies, the LGC, just so that everyone, is ahead of the budget meetings, so that they can see the progress that's been made, the effort that's going on, maybe some explanation about why. I think as long as we understand what the process is, we can see the value that's being added and the work that's coming ahead. And that, by the time that, if we're able to meet on council agendas sometime in June, by July, when we start ADA paratransit, that's something that we can report. Because I don't remember the last time that we were in front of this group's councils. I know more recently through Annette and her help, we were able to gain the membership of Anthony and of Clint. But I think it's been a while since we presented to these agencies, so I think we should work on that. And then another thing that relates back to FY25 and our contributions, the county's been carrying the cost of the Socorro service. I know TTI is working with us. In some of the preliminary conversations, it looks like there's limited options to really develop a reduction in service policy, but I think we're going the right way of doing this to be deliberate. But I think, we don't have an interest in continuing to subsidize service in an area of a municipality that's not going to be a member. And so if at the next meeting, it would be helpful for us to see a proposal from Barracuda on the agenda to, like a media package to talk about reducing service and putting notice to the citizens of the city of Socorro that by January 1, service will be reduced and potentially completely eliminated because of the actions of their city council. And if they have any questions, they should contact their elected officials, because it was not the decision of this board nor any of these agencies to reduce that service. That was a decision made by their elected body. And perhaps hearing that as early as possible before the city enters their budget hearings, it would still give the city of Socorro one more opportunity to potentially reconsider. So I think as we calculate what FY25 looks like, we should still try and estimate what Socorro's would be in case they ask. And I think we actually just kind of do that as a good faith measure moving forward. But I think we get ready to do that so that we're not putting residents in a position where no one told them and they didn't have any recourse to do that. But I mean, those were, I think that's just where we stand from the county's perspective.
Right,
And board members, that's exactly what I think, that January 1st, and the residents know, and we've gone, I mean, this was decided back last year, and they've had a lot of time. TTI is working. There's no easy fix to make this happen, but we have got to pull the trigger and say they're not contributing. It's not fair to the rest of the members. So this way they can start, as Mr. Landero said, start their planning, and if they've got questions or they're mad, they need to contact their city reps in Socorro. Mike.
Yes, sir, I agree with that, and I think just to expand it, maybe making a presentation to the MPO board as well, because we do have, of course, the state delegation that sits on that. I think just so that way everybody that has the decision-making from a transportation funding perspective is notified.
Good point.
And what I would do, I would offer to the members of the board is, if you would like, if this is something you're interested in, I could present to your councils just to give the update, to notify if you would like for the COG to do that on behalf of the LGC.
Great. Say, what were you going to say?
No, that's perfect.
I do have a question. When we get those estimates, do we anticipate that we will also have a draft of the contribution agreement prepared for 25?
I think that would be the plan. So I hear what you're saying, that you would like to see if those two can be.
And possibly, I don't know what the other agencies think, but maybe looking at a longer-term contribution agreement and maybe, have language in there that allows for adjustments to the amounts every year, but so we don't have to go back every year for that, correct?
That's a really good point. I would say that the most important information needed in order to complete the funding agreements is the amount of the contributions. The form of the agreements will be substantially similar to what they were last year, taking into account this suggestion that maybe we make them longer term. I will tell you that as your legal counsel, it's always been my plan that once we get on more of a smooth and stable ground in terms of EPAT's operations, it will be a lot easier to estimate what the ongoing contributions are going to be, and that will make it easier for everyone to agree to a long-term agreement, right? In the past 2 years, since the data is so recent and things have, are in flux, I think one-year agreements are probably best. But as we start getting more comfortable with what the numbers are and they start becoming more stable, the long-term agreements are definitely make better sense. So.
Is there a possibility, though, of having that longer-term agreement, recognizing that there's some volatility with the number, the contribution every year? But I know the best thing is to have a document that says year 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and here are the $5 amounts, right? But is there a mechanism to have a contract that says, the county and the LGC enter this agreement, and the coming fiscal year's contribution is estimated at this amount. This agreement will renew automatically upon the LGC providing the year 2 amount or the year 3 amount, and then, giving like the county like 90 days to not accept that amount and cancel the agreement. Do you know what I mean?
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
So like, really, it would kind of take the form of a master agreement where everything, all of the terms that don't change
Right.
stay the same,
And maybe we just have like a task order.
and you have one item, a
like
task
a
order.
contribution amount
or
that
contribution
changes.
amount
It's
that
like a
gets-
one-page document every year.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, we can do that.
Yeah.
And,
Because we have similar agreements the county does with TTI, with the RMA, right? And it just kind of memorializes this commitment to this long-term relationship, and then we just update the amount on a yearly basis. So that might be good.
yes,
Okay.
I think that's a really good idea.
Yeah, the Horizon has a similar agreement with the city of El Paso, and so, there's language in there that every year we would get an estimate by a certain date, and then there's termination language as well. So I think we could look at doing something like that. I think it benefits
Yes.
this body.
So we would just need a motion for this item then, because it sounds like you all would want TTI to start initiating that. Would anyone like to make that motion?
I'll make that motion.
So I didn't do it quite eloquently. Do you want to?
Do we need a
Well, so
modified-
let's, I think we have to make clear what we want. Did the board decide that they want TTI to prepare a task order, right?
Yes.
And really, that doesn't have to be a motion, because a task order doesn't, require any resources from the board. It can be a direction to TTI to present us with a task order, but a motion, if we're going to do a motion to approve staff to request, to negotiate and request a task order from TTI for preparation of the fiscal year 2025 service plan, financial plan, and contribution amounts as presented, so that everything that was discussed gets captured into the motion.
I think Ms. Garcia made the motion.
Oh, we have, Mike Medina made the motion. Okay, Michelle Garcia will second the motion. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion will carry. All right, so then this will take us to,
Actually, and just to clarify, right, so, but we also have direction to start putting together, maybe we could receive an update on what the outreach looks like for all the agencies, so we're all aware of when those meetings will be happening. And then I think, dependent on the action that our Commissioners Court ultimately takes, ensuring that our agreements and things start to include the possibility of a director. I think that's just something else to think about, like what circumstances is this administrator for the LGC empowered to execute agreements on behalf? What things stay with the chair? I just think that's a topic that we need to discuss primarily with you, Mr. Estrada, just to make sure that we're set there. And then third, the plan with also for staff to negotiate a scope of work with Barracuda on the January 1 hard stop for the City of Socorro service, just so we can have that also on for the next, I don't know if you, I know we don't, I think we can just provide that direction, but, just to be consistent, we gave staff that direction in a motion, so I would make a motion to direct staff to negotiate a scope of work with Barracuda, PR for the Socorro service stop date outreach plan to be effective January 1, 2025.
Okay, was that your motion?
Yes.
Okay, I'll second that.
all right, is there any discussion? All right, all those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Okay, motion will carry as well.
And sure, if I may, since we came back to the issue of the hard stop of on the transit service to the City of Socorro, as legal, and I can discuss this with staff in greater detail, but just so that everyone knows, I think it's important that we also make sure that we're complying with all of the federal regulations when it comes to changes and service reductions. And so as part of us working towards that January 1st deadline, I think I'm going to want to get with staff and TTI, because I recall that they were working on an assessment of that reduction.
Right.
I'd like to see what that has revealed, and then just kind of make sure that the legal requirements are met. But we can work on that behind the scenes.
Thank you.
And, you know, any issues that may come up with equity and access to existing services and everything else, yeah, obviously. But I think that's our goal, though, is letting people know that that's the hard stop date.
Okay, this will now take us to item 6G. And this agenda item is to discuss and take appropriate action to allow El Paso County Transit to offer a promotional free fare for Ozone Action Days as determined by the Texas Commission on Environmental Quality from May 23rd, 2024 through October 31st, 2024. And Jesus with county staff will present this agenda item.
Good afternoon, Board. Jesus Sala. So on this, like, you know, every year we come in with these ozone days or ozone seasons. We're back in the summer. And, you know, ozone days are declared by TCEQ a day before, so we could let our transportation provider, let them know that fares are free for this day. In the past, we have done it in the summer, but these are just the days that they commissioned to be ozone days. Next, do you have this?
Yes, and we do have a few slides on this agenda item. If, Alexis, if you can forward that. Is there,
Is it the PDF?
I believe that there's three additional slides that we have behind this one. I don't, if it's not there, then I apologize, Jesus, maybe I did not.
It's okay. So the next image was what is the effect of the ozone pollution? And the effects are, you know, in the summer, the most vulnerable people are elderly people, are kids, and are people that have respiratory problems. Last year, TCEQ declared 13 days of ozone, but we had the whole summer. So we're bringing this presentation to see if you will allow us to do when they call for the ozone days to be. That's what we're.
Thank you, Jesus. And I think we had an issue here. Annette, did you want to address that at this time?
Yes, just there is, but I recall last year what happened was that the board voted to allow the fare to be free for the summer, but with the rollout of the ADA paratransit, perhaps you all will want to put a pause to that until you do that rollout to determine all the kinks are worked out before something like that is offered. So the agenda item was just to only read for the free fares to be considered from May 23rd to the October 31st when it's ozone action days.
And I think we had a discussion, myself and Mr. Landeros, that maybe, I know we've done it in the past, that we extend it through the general voting day, which will be November the 5th. Is that correct?
Yes, November 5th. Yes, sir.
With the exception that was just mentioned by Annette right now. Or would that impact it? Do you think we need to wait on it a little bit till we establish those exact dates?
Well,
if I may,
Jesus, you want to take on?
if we implement ADA paratransit, it has to be free for them as well. So if it's free for the fixed route, it's free for paratransit.
I think the logistical challenge might be, we roll out ADA paratransit, there's no fare, and then we start charging a fare later on, and people have become accustomed to not. I think that's the logistical thing. But otherwise, I mean, toll lanes and highways are free. I mean, the Border Highway West is still free, and it's been like 4 years since that opened. So I don't know that we're going to keep it free, but if that is the challenge, that, you know, we would start a new service and it would be free, and eventually there would be a fare associated with that, that's the same route as our fixed route. Maybe we just need to let people know that it's only free during this promotional period during the summer because of the climate concerns, and that we expect that the normal fares to kick in on November 5th, and if we can provide them with some sort of notice, that way they're aware.
After November 5th.
Right, that after November 5th, they will in fact be charged a fare. We're starting this, and it's good, right? Because it's a new service, it gets people out there. We just don't know what the financial cost would be. I think that's the big operational risk.
And I apologize, I sent to Alexis the older PowerPoint presentation, so Jesus had provided 2 additional slides to this agenda item. And so, Jesus, would you want us to wait to have them view those 2 other slides, or?
the example of the ozone days that were previously from 2019 to 2023, of the days that TCEQ declared those days.
Would you all like to wait, or?
No, I don't see why we can't take action today. Mr. Estrada, is there a reason we need to wait?
I don't think there's a legal reason why you need to wait. As long as you all feel like you have the information you need to make the decision. It seems to me, based on the comments that have been made, that if the board approves this motion today, you're going to apply it both to the fixed route system and the paratransit system. And so there are some concerns, in terms of how that may affect, ridership and the perception that the rides are free, or, and will continue to be free. But that's not really a legal impediment to you, approving this motion. I think what you can do is you can approve the motion as worded, but then we can add some language at the end, subject to further review and analysis by, county staff, meaning you now give them approval to do this, but it's not a mandate that they do it. They then go back and determine whether or not it's feasible, and then you leave it up to them. So it's really up to you all, Commissioner, if you all want to do this. Now, Jesus, if I heard you correctly, the range in the motion is from May 23rd, 2024 through October 31st, 2024, but it would only be on ozone days that the free fare would be available to riders, so it wouldn't be free for the entire range. It would only be a handful of days, maybe?
Exactly. So last year it was 13. So in those 13 days that they declared, then those 13 days that we declared, or that we advertise that it's free, paratransit will be free on those 13 days.
I just wanted to clarify that for everyone.
And do we add election day separately?
Well, election day, since that's not on the motion, and that wasn't the way it was brought for discussion today, if you wanted to accommodate it for the election days, we would have to wait them, because that's not how it was presented on the agenda,
Okay.
Commissioner.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, I think the biggest thing that gives me a little bit of pause, or maybe for us to discuss, is do we want to do, if we wanted to go with the original proposal that we had discussed, which was all summer, as we've done in the past, where we just make the buses free for the summer in an effort to try and prevent people from being on the road at all during some of the most inclement times. Operationally, we're going to launch a new service that's going to be also free at that same time. Does it create confusion for people? I think maybe it has the opposite effect, where it says the LGC is launching this new service. It's going to be free through the end of the summer up until this date. We encourage residents to be informed and sign up and, and use the service. That way we kind of put our money where our mouth is in terms of being serious about trying to offer paid paratransit service. Now, I see TTI has popped up on the screen, which is either a good or a bad thing, right? So, Will, I don't know if there's another item that we're not considering here that we haven't discussed just yet.
Just a potential impact. If free service is provided on the ADA paratransit service just on the ozone days, it won't have any further impacts. If it's provided throughout the summer, it's bound to significantly impact the demand. And if the demand is significantly more than we've already estimated based on there being a fare, that may affect the contract that we're all trying to negotiate with TransDev in terms of how many vehicles they may need out there. So just a consideration for you.
Okay, then it's a good point. Thank you, Will. My question to the board is, do we keep it as stated here, only ozone days, or do we try to increase it the entire summer?
So I guess my question is that when we have the ozone action days, do we have an estimate of how much VMT is reduced, or how many more boardings we have and things of that nature?
I don't have that information for you, but I could provide that for you you need to.
You're looking for the financial impact that it's going to have.
Well, more of the reduction of, because if the goal of, TCEQ, to reduce, the impact, so part of the ozone stuff is that we remove vehicles from the roadway. And so, understanding that impact, so how many, single occupied vehicles are being removed, and then transferring that person on the transit system, is what I would kind of balance that. But I think that for purposes, of moving forward, I would support the initial 13 days. I would certainly would want the entire summer, to move in that direction. So if that's the case, I would make a motion, to support the item as presented.
Okay, the motion is for the 13 ozone days.
Yes, sir.
Well, we won't know
not
the
13 days.
ozone
13, that
days.
was last year.
It's
Whatever
determined by
they declared this,
TCEQ.
yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, so we do have a motion from Mike Medina. Is there a second?
Second?
Second from Andrea Carrillo. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion will carry. And I apologize, Jesus, he had some really great slides, and I mucked it up. Okay, so agenda item H. This item is to discuss and take appropriate action regarding the ETA Access van wrap options and mock-up designs. This will be presented by El Paso County staff. We also have Barracuda Public Relations, Dave Acosta here as well. And I just wanted to make one quick announcement. Even though I made that statement in terms of the link that we would get with Barracuda, I hope I didn't misrepresent all the hard work and effort that Barracuda has done with regard to the public meetings and rolling out the ADA paratransit plan, because they have done a tremendous job under, I think, enormous stress with short deadlines. So I just wanted to make that announcement. Thank you. Jesus?
Good afternoon, Board. Jesus Serra. So in front of you, you'll have the two options of the vehicle wraps. We did receive 4 of the ProMasters, which is the picture in front of you. We received 4 of those. The 2 wraps option, this is the one that staff recommends, but there's a second option. You go to the second option, Alexis, the next one. This is the second option. So we just want your directions to see what option do you guys prefer, so we could get these wrapped as soon as possible.
And then, Jesus, I believe you do have a recommendation from staff on which option you all would prefer.
Option 1 is our recommendation.
I think the board is leaning toward 2 from, from the giggles. But, yeah.
No, I approve, support staff's recommendation.
It's purple and gold, so I mean, Burgess Mustang and me is excited. It doesn't matter what it could look like.
It's gold. It looks greenish to me. Is that gold?
Well, yeah, that's a good clarification. On the screen, it's gold, but I think on the screen, we had this question last time, but it is gold.
Several times.
Yeah.
Yes. So you were option 1, is what I'm hearing?
Board?
I'll take a step back on this one.
It looks like we have a winner.
Option 1.
I like the second one because it looks like a racetrack.
Yeah.
Okay, yes, it does, but it just does a loop. The other one looks more like a route.
But it looks like a network, right?
Yes.
Right.
See?
I think the other one, I kind of look and I think the movie Tron.
I was thinking,
yeah.
I was thinking Super Mario on this one, like a series of pipes.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I did want to ask a question, though, about the design. I know we've branded as ETA. I have a more global question about, at one point, ETA will start being branded for like our placards to not be individual back to the county, but even the letterhead on the logo for our meetings and everything else. But that aside, what's the branding, what's the bilingual brand for? I know in Spanish, right, it's still, we branded it in Spanish and it could kind of go back and forth, but Access, is there a brand in Spanish associated with that? And I'm wondering if at the minimum, if that's the brand, fine, because Accesso is still, you could just drop the O and it's fine. But I'm wondering if safe, reliable, and transportation could at the minimum also be bilingual, and if other elements could also be in English and Spanish.
So as far as the Spanish branding, I'll have to look into that, as I was not part of the project when the branding was submitted to you all for approval. So I'll have to look into that. As far as anything else that's on these mock-ups, including that the safe, reliable transportation, anything else like the unit numbers. I believe we have a mock phone number on there too, on the back portion. If you show the next, yeah, where it has the phone, all that is mock-up. Anything that's not branded specifically as ETA or like the design parts, those are mock. So those can be changed to anything we need, and we can do them bilingual as well.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And then I'm just getting nitpicky, but like safe, reliable, those are adjectives, and then transportation is a noun.
Yes.
So I'm not sure where that came from. Like, should it be safe and reliable transportation?
Right.
I don't know, right? And now I'm just nitpicking.
I think just take out the second comma, safe, reliable.
Yeah, reliable
Yeah,
transport.
there
Yeah,
we
I think,
go. Or that's
I think
it,
it has
see?
an extra comma in there.
Commas matter.
Yeah. I believe so too, because I
I
used
do
to-
not. I hate
As
the
a former
Oxford-
copy editor, I believe so.
I
as well.
hate Oxford commas with a passion. Yeah.
Same.
But
Yes, Carl, they do make a difference, like, no, more tequila? No, more tequila. So, yeah, they make a
They
huge
do.
difference.
okay.
And I believe, actually, we transferred these designs over from just a generic van onto the actual vans that were purchased. So I do believe that comma was not there before, but that's just that's just an observation I just had also. But yeah, like I said, anything on here that is besides the logo and some of the designy elements, any of the wording can be changed to something else. These are all just for mock purposes, so you all can have a look at what it would look like.
So for the bilingual, were you thinking integrated bilingual, or were you thinking maybe one side is in English, one side is in Spanish, or what were you thinking?
I think for like the safe, reliable, it being stacked English and Spanish.
I'm sure our designers can make it
Right.
fit to where it would work in both English and Spanish.
And that's just more like a aesthetic thing, but really the accessibility stuff on the back, the website, well, the website's going to be monolingual, but like the schedule a ride, questions, all that kind of informational stuff, I think that should probably be, yeah, or
So you'd have both.
or you have schedule of ride, the number in that purple, if you see it above the ETA window, and then underneath, the Spanish to direct people to do the same thing.
Yeah, we can take care of that.
Yeah, I agree with you on the informational items.
Yeah, especially in the service areas that these vans will go and be seen, right? We really want to increase the visibility and make sure it's accessible, is as accessible as possible.
So what if we do, since we have 4 vehicles now, what if we do 2 in Spanish and 2 in English?
Or are you going to send the ones in English?
Where do they need to go?
No, I think, board, yeah. Was he kidding?
Yeah, he was kidding. It was
Okay.
it was
I was just making sure.
It was a poorly delivered joke.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so then it sounds like we have a motion to approve option 1 for the ETA access van wrap. And I believe that Ms. Gadea would want to make that motion.
Make a
Is there a
motion?
second?
I'll second.
Mike Medina, second. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion carries. All right, so then this will now come to our last agenda item. This is informational, just an update. I did sit in on the most recent WETEP committee meeting that was held previously, and I wanted to update the board that WETEP is looking at having the conference on October 17th, 2024, and that would be from 8:30 to 12. And I know that Mr. Bañalas is still on the line, I believe, and so he can add to the discussion if he would like, but I think there's a great opportunity for EPAT's LGC to talk about all the work that you've done thus far, as well as the rollout of the ADA paratransit plan, and so there will be opportunities for you all to have session items to discuss those actions during this time between 8:30 and 12. Mr. Bañalas, is there anything else that you would like for me to add?
No, other than I'm just getting an idea as to whether the EPET will be participating, and we hope that they would, because this will be an opportunity to bring some of the transit providers and some of the social service agencies from within the county, to participate in this conference. We've had about 4 since the duration of WETEP. Started in 2006. There was one in like 2009, co-sponsored with the Area Agency on Aging. Then another about 3 years later. The last one that we had was 2019. We canceled the one that was scheduled in 2019, I believe, because of COVID. So we're reactivating this conference. It's a transportation conference. It provides information to the participants, mainly the providers of services. And it's an opportunity to network, to coordinate, communicate, and share what's happening with the different transit providers within the county. So
Yes,
we do hope that you will
Annette,
participate.
will the entire board have a flyer or something just as a reminder?
Yeah, so we get further along, but I think what might be fortuitous for you all is that with this coming up in October, this might be the first action you direct to your LGC director to present. So I think definitely there will be, again, opportunities for either board members or staff to be able to present on what's been done so far.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Bañales. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay, so then this will take us to item 7, executive session. If there's any,
Yeah, there was, there was some personnel matters that I think we wanted to discuss in executive session under 6F. And so, Mr. Estrada, I don't know if we would need a motion to open that item back up and then retire into executive session, or whether we could just retire into executive session under 551074 to discuss items related to 6F.
You're muted, Mr. Estrada.
Sorry, caught me a little bit off guard there. So let's make a motion to go into executive session under the personnel exception of the Texas Open Meetings Act without having to make a specific reference to item 6F.
Okay.
So just,
So I would make that motion then.
I'll second that.
okay, we have a motion from Jose Landeros, seconded from Commissioner Leon. Is there any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion carries, and we will go into executive session as of 3:10.
Okay, we are back on.
Yeah.
Miguel, are we online now?
We are back on.
Is there a motion to go back into open session?
So moved. Second.
Phil Garcia and Commissioner Leon seconded. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, motion carries.
I just want to make clear for the record that there was no action taken in executive session, and we can move on to the next item on the agenda.
Okay, our last agenda item will be adjournment. If anybody would like to make a motion. Second. Landeros. And Michelle Garcia seconded that. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries, and the time is 3:36 PM.